Hey everybody, I'm Joe Crawford, and I do CSS Battle daily targets on this channel. Occasionally you'll see dolphins and things in the water too. Alright, so these are CSS Battles from CSSBattle.dev from before. These are from the 5th, 6th, and 7th of October 2023. And so let's do them. This first one is like 100. I think it's commemorating the 100th CSS Battle. I think it's pretty clearly the kind of thing that will take 3 elements, and I'm going to have an O attribute to distinguish. The O attribute to distinguish the first one, which is a little less wide, right? And so that's the, I'm just setting up my selectors. Next, I'm going to put a background in place, and look at that. Didn't put it in the right place. I think the editor was helping me a little bit in a way that I didn't like. All right, and then the background is white on these. I believe this is display flex. All the elements will then be kind of in the same line, but that also means that everything will need a width of some kind, otherwise they will collapse down to nothing. All right, so let's set margins on the body. Five, 6, maybe it's 59. 59, okay, and then 50, 53, 4, 5, okay. So the widths on these, I think, are the things that we want to change. So we're going to set it as a var, --w, or let's say 40. And then we're pointing out that we're going to need a gap to this flex, so we want space between each one. Now there's also a certain amount of space being applied to the top, because paragraph elements have a default margin. We're ignoring that. We're just going with what we see there. It's not going to come into play for what we're doing. All right, so 40, 50. The first one is 50. And you can see that because the alignment is close. All right, and then let's increase the gap to 20. 20, that looks right. And then, so PO, so I think that what that means is we want to default, so O is going to have a width of 50. And I think our border radius is going to come into play as well. And then these are, what, 100 wide? Yeah, sure, there it is. And they all have the same height, 150, okay. And then we want a border radius. And we're going to make that also a var because it's going to be slightly different for one versus the other. --r, or in this case, 50 pixels. There it is. And actually, is that working? Maybe that's working fine. And I don't need, because it's more than what the border radius of the first element can supply, we don't need that to be 25 pixels. So let's submit and see if we get 100% match. If so, then we're done. And that was a fun one. And yeah, so that is, we didn't need variable border radius. In terms of what's actually going on there, we exceeded the max border radius for a single value border radius. And so we don't need to make any changes there. So let's minify using my GitHub plugins. And away we go. A resubmit, and that's a nice score. All right, next. This is an oddball one. So I'm going to use my blank template, and I think it's pretty clear that the right approach here is a background, is a border. This is solid, and then that color, and then has some width, 50 pixels. Nice thick. How about 30? How about 35? Something like that. Let's put our background on. And then let's punch out the middle. we do need to get to that background, but what that's going to be, we're going to have some choices there. We don't have a background on this element, but right now I would like to set the margins on the element itself to get us the right height and width. Okay, so 50 seem to have done it. 90, 91, 92. Okay, so that's aligning pretty well. And that border might be wrong, right? So the border width needs to be bigger, 48. Is it just an even 40? I think it's an even 40. All right. And then we need a border radius. And that's going to be 4 values. In this case, I think we want 50 pixels, 0, 0 to get those bottom corners. Not quite right. Maybe it's like 100 pixels. Yeah, 100 pixels. And then we're too tall. 70, 80, 90, 80. Okay, so it is 100, more than 100. Okay, there's 110. No, 105. 115. 120. There it is. All right. So we've got all we got left is the middle part of this. Now, can we do it with another element? We could. Is that simple? Maybe. We do it with another element, but we need a height, width, and we need to set margins. We could do it with an element inside another element, but we can't do that with a paragraph tag. We need to do a div. We do the first one as a div or some other container element. I think I'm inclined to put it on the background. So let's do a radial gradient. Actually, let's do the background. Let's do the circle part on this background. So background radial gradient. I don't know why it uses radiation, but it does. Inner color and then transparent. So there's our gradient, and then 20 pixels or something. And there it is, dead center. That's great. I think that means that on the body, our background, it's going to be a conic gradient, which is the orange, 270 degrees around, or 75%. And then purple, 0. And then with an at, 40 pixels over, and let's say 40 pixels down. Actually, no, 80 pixels down. And then by moving this with the background position, so I'm adjusting those numbers and then a little higher. And there it is. So once again, that's the body, and then this is the element. Not too bad. I think that's a match. Let's submit and find out. We did 100% match. We're going to unit replace and minify using my plugins and resubmit. I actually have one more submission to do. And that's done. Super fun. So what did we use? Conic gradient, border radius, radial gradient. Pretty great. Okay, lastly, this is an interesting one. I think we can use borders again, and then I think we want to use a transform. If we want to make one of them, then we need to transform and move the second. So let's do that. All right, so the bank, we use the blank template, and then move the first one into place. And I'm putting the background of this green to start, because what I'd like to do is move it into place first. And put the margins. Let's put the margins here. All right, so I think we're going to need a few different margins here, and I think we do need a width, don't we? Maybe not. Okay. So 40, 51, and then 3, 4. Okay. And let's make this as tall as we need it to be. 2, 30, 40, 50, 60. I guess we need 52 over here. Yeah. And then let's do a width. 100, 140, 150, 155. Those are just 160, 160. And then let's do a border radius. Oh, and I got something that I've ignored is that what we need to do here is a background of some kind, right? So how are we making this shape? I think that what we want is two things. Let's do a radial gradient. So I was thinking about using a clip path, so we could make this shape and then use a clip path to clip it out. But instead, I'm going to do a radial gradient, which is a circle, and it's at 50%, 100%, and then transparent. Yes. And then the dark blue, or the dark green. Yeah, it's a dark green. And then this color. And we need some values there, don't we? Too big. About 15%. And then we're going to move this up using, again, background position. 0 and then minus 100 pixels. And we're going to do, yeah, I think that's fine. So we'll get there. We'll get that up. So if we can move that into position here, then we can adjust the numbers and get that correct. Yes, 200, too far. 170, 150, 60, 70, 80. Okay. I tried percentages and that's not working out. So let's try 60 pixels. And then 0. Nope. 50, 60, 70, 80. All right, so that's the first part of that. And then we have more color here. That's the background color of the rest of it. And it is, that does mean that probably we want a transparency here. So that's now in the background there. So now we need another part of the background. And in this case, what I'm going to do is a linear gradient. And then we're going to make some decisions about exactly how that's going to work. It's got to go left to right. So it's this color, and then (40 pixels), and then we have a big R. So this is bleeding through, and that's no good. So that means the second color of this radial gradient, or the third color rather. So the inner is transparent, and then the outer needs to be solid. But that also means we're going to change the repeat. So that also covers that. And we don't want that. We want that to not repeat vertically. So to do that, we do repeat, So that's background repeat is repeat X instead. Look at that. So we've got an additional part of this that we did not account for. It turns out that the hook part of this pushes down. It's not just the radial gradient, the circle part. So what do we need to do differently? Or what can we change? Or how do we improve it? I think that means that this mechanism, the way we're doing it, is not great. So how do we do it? I think that means we scrap the background entirely, and we do a border solid of this color, 40 pixels, and then border radius, and we need the first two numbers to be some number, pixels to be pixels 0, 0. Okay, so if that's true, or even better, how about just 50 pixels, just 100 or 80. Let's see. So I think 80 pixels is the right thing, but now we're too wide. So if our border is 40, so if we remove 80 from this, we probably have it. There we go. So that's what that element looks like. And it looks okay. And then we need a second one. And then we are going to use a clip path. And in this case, it looks like the Tetris 3 up and 1 over, something like that. So the clip path we will do, and clip path colon polygon. And we start in the upper corner. We go over to 100%, 0. We go down to some number. So we need to go down to here and then over to here. But we don't know what that height is. So I'm going to do a dash dash H. I'm going to say 20%. Because if I want to adjust the height of this, then I'm going to be impacted by that. And I would like to use the percent size. So by doing that, we'll have a more flexibility. Dash dash H, cool, and then 50%, var dash dash H, and then 50%, 100%, cool, and then 0, 100%, and that's our clip path, and there it is. So now, if we move this number, we can adjust how that it looks. Now, in this case, I've got this height of 260. Do I need that height? Is that the height that's correct? It's 3 characters, so it's not too bad. 99 is probably not enough. No, not enough. So we're going to leave it at 3 characters, and then we can adjust this number later. So, no, 20, actually 20, 24, 25, 26, 27, 26. What have we made it? 250. Is we still good? Yeah, let's do that. We'll try 250, and then we can have an even number, maybe. 25, 26, 27, 28, 26. Yeah. How about 240? Can we go smaller? There it is. There's 240. And if the other one is the same shape, we have a second one, then we alter him. So we're going to do a transform of a rotate. Actually, we want to do a scale of -1. -1 is one option. So that's the second one. So we do it in the first one, and we only want to do it the second one. So that, and then we need to translate. And actually, we'll do the translate first, because, yeah. So we're going to move it 0 to start with on the x-axis, and upwards. So there, now we're moving it up. Okay, great. And let's go up even further. There's our hook. And then over a little bit more. So that's our second element. How about a little less up? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 91, 88. There we go. So, with a little bit of transform magic, I think we've got a match. Let's submit and see if we get 100%. So, clip path, border radius, borders, and in the transform area, we've got translate and scale. Those are, you go ahead and look up how those work, because those are really valuable tools, really interesting tools to get really great effects. And let's submit that. That's it. Thanks for watching. Very enjoyable. Hope this was elucidating. Make cool stuff with CSS. It's a lot of fun.